Hello everyone! Today we will learn how the Devum workflow builder can be used to create an employee leave management workflow for the HR tutorial Devum app. This video showcases a scenario within our HR tutorial app built on Devum, where an employee submits a leave request. The request is then reviewed and either approved or rejected by the reporting manager. Let us walk through the workflow we designed for this use case. When an employee submits a leave request, their manager reviews it and decides whether to approve or deny the request. Once the manager makes their decision, an automated email is sent to the employee, informing them of the updated leave status. To start, click on the Workflow Builder option located in the left panel. A pop-up will appear, allowing you to create a new workflow. First, name your workflow as Employee Leave Process, and then choose the form Leave Process that the leave application will be based on. Select Initiatable User and Initiatable Roles. Finally, click on the Save button to complete the setup. Here, our goal is to streamline the process of applying leave for and approving leave requests within the organization. To begin the process, we first place sequence flow events like the start event on our workspace, followed by adding the Chavaka Fluent service. The primary function of the Fluent service is to contain the necessary logic and process the reporting head. By clicking on the service, we access the Properties panel, where we specify the service name Resolved Reporting Head, and click on the Fluent service option, which opens a pop-up. Within the pop-up window, we enter the designated service name as Resolve Reporting Head Service. The next step involves specifying the field name, which we assign as Leave Process. Subsequently, we proceed to set the data type for this field as a data table, indicating the type of data it will hold. Additionally, we ensure to check the Is Array option, indicating that the data will be stored in an array format. Moving forward, we select the entity schema as Leave Process, aligning the service configuration with the corresponding schema for streamlined data management. Finally, after ensuring all necessary details are accurately input, we save the service configuration to implement the specified settings effectively. We commence the process of crafting the logic by dragging the required functions from the function library located on the left side of our workspace. The initial step involves utilizing the dbFilterOwn function, which operates on the employee table to validate whether the unique identifier of the employee corresponds with the data present in the reporting head within the leave process table. After assigning the function the name Reporting Head Employee Details, which denotes the successful setup of this particular segment of the logic, we proceeded to utilize the dbFilterOwn function. This function was employed to filter the user details from the user table and retrieve the corresponding identification information. We named the Chavaka Fluent service as Resolved Reporting Head. Then, in the Workflow Builder workspace, we drag the human user task, rename it as Reporting Head. Once the reporting head has been successfully resolved, the subsequent step involves crafting a user configuration for the resolved user based on the preceding process element. This entails configuring the Accept and Reject action buttons, as well as setting the color scheme to green for accept and red for reject. Additionally, specific fields from the entity schema are selected to determine their read-only status and visibility for the current user. Essentially, we are customizing the actions within the general properties of the human user task, specifying the color settings for the accept and reject actions. The accept action is configured in a green color scheme, while the reject action is set to red. Furthermore, it is also possible to assign the accept and reject action values as yes or no as indicated. As depicted here, the forms can be tailored to meet specific needs. The visibility of the fields can be adjusted as necessary. In this case, we have chosen to display the employee name, leave type, reason, start date, end date, and number of days, while keeping the reporting head invisible to themselves. The user task header has been specifically designated as Reporting Head Taking Action. We integrated the dual expression retrieved from the resolved reporting head Charvaka Fluent service within the dynamic user form variable in the way shown in the video. Following this, in the user settings, there is an option to select the site, adjust the necessary settings, and then proceed to save the modifications, as exemplified in the demonstration. Then, in our Devum platform, we proceed by dragging a decider task element and two Charvaka Fluent service elements onto the workspace. The decider task's primary function is to determine whether to approve or deny the leave request based on the specific scenario. The Charvaka Fluent services are then created to assess whether the leave should be accepted or rejected. When dealing with the acceptance Fluent service, we indicate the condition type as an expression and input, the dual expression derived from the resolved reporting head as yes. This process is illustrated in this specific configuration as shown. We assign suitable titles to the Charvaka Fluent services, distinguishing them as leave acceptance and leave rejection, correspondingly, as indicated in the demonstration. In a similar manner, when dealing with the Rejection Fluent service, we indicate the condition type as an expression and input the dual expression extracted from the resolved reporting head as no. This process is clearly demonstrated in the current setup. Finally, we proceed to drag the end elements and connect the flow by using sequence lines. Subsequently, the next step involves developing the Fluent service for leave acceptance. This process includes creating the service, providing the display name as on accepting leave, specifying the forms it operates on, in this case, the leave process, defining the data type as a data table, selecting the isArray option, and finally constructing the logic by choosing and dragging functions from the function library. Additionally, a function is also implemented in the logic for sending email notifications to the employee whose leave request has been approved. In the workflow, the same process can be replicated for leave rejection service. The initial step involves assigning the display name as on rejection leave, specifying the forms it operates on, in this case, the leave process, designating the data type as a data table, enabling the isArray option, and then proceeding to construct the logic by selecting and dragging functions from the function library. Lastly, within the workflow, we name the variables for acceptance and rejection as leave accepted and leave rejected, respectively, and proceed to publish our modifications. To conclude, we add an end event to the workflow. It is important to mention that while there can only be one start event, there can be multiple end events. Once the workflow is created, data must be inserted into the initiating entity schema that was defined during the workflow creation process. Thank you.